Okay, so if you haven't yet, please mute yourselves. If you'd like to show your face, I am very pleased to see you out there. It is awesome. We have 23 people logged on today, which is really good. Let me go to my share screen and we will start our meeting. Here we are. Share. Come on. There we go. And then I just need to do that. There we go. So, perfect. We move this out of the way and start our meeting. Welcome, everyone. I have some reminders for you, just in case you haven't heard what we're up to right now. I need you to remember to pay your dues if you haven't done that yet. Very important. And send in your directory picture. The directory is growing by leaps and bounds. This is part of what it looks like right now. You can see it says protected. The directory is behind a password, so people can't come on and get all your email addresses and phone numbers and do terrible things with them. So we're very excited about that. Let me get, here we go. And one of the things that I had to do though, and it's been an issue for not just our chapter, but for chapters throughout the state, I had all of these email addresses on a page that was visible to the public. And because of that, there are these little bots that run out and they collect all of those email addresses and then they start sending you these phishing scams, right? So people were getting, because my name was at the top, they were getting from me these requests to buy cards and send money and crazy stuff. So all of this is now on that protected page. You have to be an active member in order to get the password. And if you don't have the password, if you don't remember what it is, I sent it out last year. If you don't remember what it is, or you don't have the password any longer, email me and I will send you the password to this protected page. It has, like I said, it has the directory on it. And it also has a list of everyone that you might need to do business with. Advanced training, membership, the programming, volunteer service projects, all of these people are on that, okay? And it has our little pictures with it, not just the email addresses, so you can look to see, well, who is that? In case I ever run across them in a meeting. Who do I need to talk to? So I just wanted you to know that that information is still there, but what you do is you go to current members and there's a drop down, and from there it says members only page or password protected page, and you click on that link. And once you type in the password, it lets you go to this page, okay?
Carolyn, not to worry, but when I got that email saying that you wanted me to buy you tickets to Tahiti, I didn't do it.
I was so looking forward to Tahiti. I am crushed that you wouldn't do that for me. Thank you, Andre. It was very good that you considered it for a moment, right? Okay, so Melissa, you're online. Yes, darling?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, you ready to talk about these next few slides?
Yes. So are we getting another pen, another
We are for 2022. Yeah, we get another COVID pin.
Okay, so what are the rules for this COVID pin? Is it the same as last time?
The same as last time.
Okay. That'll help me when I go through the list.
Awesome. Awesome. So
okay.
You remember what the rules are?
It was like 1 hour of volunteer hours and 8 hours of AT, correct?
You are right on the money, darling.
Oh, you will need 1 hour of volunteer and 8 hours of AT to get your 2022 COVID pin.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Ready?
Yeah. So our certifications for this month are Carolyn Worsham, Darla Oakman, Kren, and Jay Rubin. And then we have a 500 hours. And we haven't got pins yet, right?
We do not have pins yet.
So as soon as we get them, I guess we'll plan a pin pickup in the future.
Okay.
And we
Right
can get,
Yeah,
go ahead.
right before you got on, we were talking about the pickup date because I'm picking up polos coming up shortly. And we had talked about actually handing out the curriculum book to the new class on the 19th. Well, the 19th is the date that we're going to do the kayaking across Spring Creek to that bluff that people can't access unless they kayak to it. And we're going to have a guide from Kickarillo Misher take us across that bluff. So we're thinking about moving that date for pickup to March 5th. Pencil it on your calendar as a possible pickup day. Is March 5th?
It's not good. I have the plant sale for Master Gardeners in Waller, and I've got to teach outreach at Brazos Bend that afternoon.
Oh no. Okay.
I know, I'm double booked.
We'll have to find another day. So let's look at it and see what we can come up with.
I would like to move it out a little bit further because we'll have more people that need pens towards April.
Okay.
Right now we won't have that many. So it would make sense to move it out when's the class start?
Class starts April 2nd.
April 2nd. Well,
so maybe
okay.
that fourth weekend in March.
Yes, that might work.
Okay, let's take a look at it together and see what we can come up with. And then we'll put it out in the bulletin so that people know where to go and what to do.
Yeah, because if we're passing out books.
Yes. Uh-oh.
Make sure that they can get it to BMS. But going back to certifications, Gail has 500 hours.
Yeah,
and I'm sure she just didn't record the 2,000 hours she worked with Pines and Prairies and all the work she does. So Gail, we really appreciate you. You did an awesome job at the anniversary for Pines and Prairies.
Awesome. Okay, let's go to the next. There we go. Okay, so Adrienne can't be with us today because she is doing some work with some schools. So she wanted to let you know about some outreach opportunities. Nature Fest at Jesse Jones Park is coming up on March 5th. Another reason why we can't do the pins then. It's from 9 to 3 o'clock. And in order to go and set up, you probably have to be there around 8. I have created and posted to the calendar on that date, on March 5th, a sign up genius. So that way you can go and sign up to be there. You can be there and pick the whole day, or you can pick just the morning or just the afternoon, and let us know when you're available for that. Mostly what we talk about is what the master naturalists do, but you can also talk about whatever your passion is, whether it's bats, Maury, or butterflies, Hugh. You can talk about whatever your passion is, but we're there also to talk about the Master Naturalist program and what a great program it is. Let's go back into this, and the next outreach opportunity we have is there's going to be an open house at Friends of Texas Wildlife on Saturday, April 9th, and they're asking for volunteers to come. And once again, we can talk about the Master Naturalist program. They'd also like some volunteers to help them get set up and then to break it down when it's all over with. So you can do either of those. You can sign up to work with them, or you can sign up to man the booth. So there is on our calendar a sign up genius for that also. Okay, Brenda, are you here? Let's see if Brenda is logged in. She travels so much. Brenda, yes, Brenda, you just logged in. Hey, Brenda. Okay, let me go ahead. I will start covering this, and then when she can make her presence known. Oh, there she is. There you are, Brenda.
Is it working?
It is working now. Now I can hear you. Yay!
Yay!
Hey, Brenda.
Hi.
So you ready to talk about these?
Oh, sure. No. Sam Houston Elementary School. That's a new one.
It is. It's a new service project. It's a brand new one.
Yeah, I see that. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Look at all the work that they did.
That is amazing. That is awesome.
Yeah.
That is awesome. Awesome.
It's going to be,
Wow.
it's in a little courtyard, and the students are able to see they're planting a bunch of native plants in there. They've gotten all this initial work done, and they're just waiting for the plants. So when they have a date for that, I will be adding that to the calendar, and Brenda will be able to tell us more about that when that date comes up.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. This is the first time I've seen the photographs. Wow.
It's awesome, right?
Yeah. It is amazing. Good job. Yeah. Sam Houston Elementary. I'm trying to think of where that elementary is off the top of my head. Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, this is the butterfly house. You guys, we need people to respond to the video, to the survey. And it's kind of getting down to critical mass on that. I need to get results back and find out if there's going to be enough volunteers. I believe we need one more volunteer. Is that right, Carolyn? To make it happen. And so that I can get Chuck and Home Depot together. Home Depot has offered to do some things for us out there. So yeah, if you guys don't mind, if you can go back and look in your bulletin and please, you know, fill out that survey, make a commitment, because this is going to be fantastic once it's up and running. And there's a lot of behind the scenes work going on for this that you know, we really want this to happen. I think that Jones Forest is going to be amazing once we get this up and running, the prairie out front. You know, it's going to be a nice educational place for people. It's just going to be amazing. So I can't wait for us to do that. So if y'all don't mind going ahead and getting that bulletin done, or that survey done, that'd be great. Those of you who haven't, yay, Naturescape at Huntsville State Park needs volunteers, needs volunteers. But I was going to say the other thing is Carolyn does a lot of things for me when I'm out and about running around and putting lots of wonderful flyers or screens together for me and stuff. But we are kind of running, like, a few of our volunteer activities, we are needing more volunteers. So if you guys are struggling to get hours and so forth, please send me an email, because there's quite a few right now that need more volunteers to do it.
This date here is an initial get together as they talk about how they want it to look. So if you have ideas also, not just strong backs and hands, this is a great way to get involved also.
Hey, Carolyn,
Yeah.
this is Scott.
Hi, Scott.
Hi, Scott.
On this project that you and Brenda were talking about,
Yeah.
I had lunch with Scooter today for some of the Texas water stuff. He's volunteered to provide for free all the native plants and pollinator plants that lady might like to set this up.
Oh,
That is awesome. That is so awesome.
So just FYI, and I don't know if anybody has any connections with John Ferguson, but I think we'll have to figure out, we're going to meet with her Friday and see how big of a space, and if she needs soil. I don't know if Nature's Way would donate it, or, you know, maybe we just have to buy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
well, I was gonna say, I just got some mulch for Friends of Texas, and the compost and mulch in the bed of a truck is like $13. It's so inexpensive.
Oh, I thought it'd be like $80 for like rose soil or that kind of stuff.
Oh gosh, no, you can get really nice compost, a truck bed full, for less than $30, and it is way more than enough to do some. I assume that we're thinking maybe raised gardens here, raised beds, or
Yeah,
what?
I assume so. I guess since this lady had championed it, she's not a member of anything as far as we know.
Mhm.
Native Plant Society or Master Naturalist, maybe we can recruit her, but depending on the size, we'll be able to figure out how many yards that she might need.
Okay. Yeah,
If we
and
wanted-
if you guys need a truck, you know, just holler at me and I can go pick up the dirt and meet y'all over there.
Oh, okay. No, me
yeah.
too. And I think Jennifer already told me that they've got a big trailer as well. So,
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, it's.
but I just thought y'all want to know about Scooter donating all those plants and stuff. So
Yeah.
just sorry to interrupt.
Oh,
That's
no, you're
anyone-
great, Scott. Hey, Scott, on this, are you thinking y'all are gonna probably do like wooden raised beds, or y'all gonna do like containers?
Oh, I'm assuming without knowing that they're going to be raised beds, not containers, but I can tell you more after Friday.
yes.
Okay, all right. Hey,
She's
shoot me.
gonna meet with us at like 10 o'clock, and I'm gonna go over there. I think Jennifer will be there, and whoever else shows up.
Okay.
This photo is not the area that's being landscaped, so don't
Yeah.
be fooled by this photo. It was just one that Carolyn could use.
Okay,
But these are not raised beds. These are just like landscaping beds. And they're bordered with big rocks that she has spent all winter digging up and resetting.
okay.
So just regular landscaping beds.
Okay.
Oh, I didn't even,
We're
I hit
just,
the wrong button and cut off Jennifer's head. I didn't know Jennifer was there. So thank you, Jennifer.
yeah, and this is her project. We're just assisting. So
Right.
she's got her own mind, what she wants to do. And so she's looking to us for counsel about native plants and pollinator plants and anything we want to suggest, but it's really her project and we need to be sensitive to that,
Okay.
not boss her around.
Awesome. Okay, so that's this Friday at 10
And
o'clock.
just as a reminder, if anybody buys stuff like dirt or things and they want to be reimbursed, I need to have a receipt.
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, next one.
Oh, good. This is a good one. There you go,
Bird
Brenda.
count. Huh?
There you go, Brenda.
Yay, bird count. Yeah, just as it says, guys, it's the bird count coming up. Get excited. Oh my, sorry, I'm sharing my space with my husband right now. Hi, hubby. Anyway, yeah, so you guys have any questions, y'all can email me about it, but it's the Great Backyard Bird Count. We do it every year. Yeah, just sign up and let's do it. Okay, guys? Anybody have any questions about it? Oh, this one. I need people. Lake Creek Preserve is marching forward. We've got dates set for for hikes, for guided hikes. Carolyn helped me put together a sign up genius, and I don't believe we have anybody sign up yet for the last Saturday in this month. So I need someone to step up and hopefully want to lead a hike this Saturday or the end of the month. We're going to be doing these monthly. Some of them are going to have themes, some of them are not. Some of them will have a few of us there. Some of them will just be the leader. We're hopefully going to have a few cleanup days here soon. And the work is going to continue on to the other side of the freeway. And it's, yeah, this is a really neat project. Glenn's done an amazing job with this. And if we can get volunteers out to keep it up and to lead the hikes and to get involved out here, this is going to be, I know everybody's working hard, like at Jones Forest and at Sam Houston and like, just all these other places. But this one is right kind of, I would almost call it like in downtown New Magnolia. It's right in the heart of everything. And to have this piece of nature where you can just pull off that busy road and go in there and park and take a nice hike and have master naturalists out there to show you around and stuff, that's just going to be amazing for the public. And it's going to let them know that we're out there. There's just, I can't say enough about what Glenn has done out there. It's really, really an awesome place. And I think that we need to get behind it and really push for this to be successful. Our area needs it. We don't have a lot of just natural spaces that we can just go out and walk our dog and enjoy the things on this side of town. And this is one of those places that we can do it. you know, you literally drive out and you're right there on 2978 and all the chaos. And so this is just this nice little piece of heaven right back there. And it's going to be amazing one day. So please sign up to volunteer. I need trail guides. I need smart people out there. Oh, and this is our Lone Star hike. Okay, so another survey has gone out for this too. And we're talking about different areas. If you look at the screen, you'll see the 2.7, 2.9, and 1.7. And we're trying to decide which area we're going to adopt, I guess would be a good way to put it, and have volunteers out there to be working. So again, you guys, please fill out the surveys that Carolyn is so kind to do and send out there, and let us know what you guys think, what you can do, what you cannot do, and give us your ideas, because we can't do this alone without all of y'all helping us. Carolyn, do you have anything else to add to this? Because this is a really cool project too. So
Really is awesome. And
a
I
lot
think
to do.
it's Carolyn Worsham. If
Yeah.
you'd like to chime in and tell us a little bit more about the Lone Star Hiking Trail. I think they've kind of decided on the 2.7 mile portion of this trail as the part that they would be interested in adopting. And it would involve trail maintenance, where you go out and you check the trail, you make sure that trees haven't come down. You let people know if there's problems with invasives or things like that. So yeah, this would be definitely a nice opportunity for a group of master naturalists to go out a few times a week, or even just once a week, and become a nice team and work together and really make a difference. So yeah. Carol, are you there?
I am here.
Good,
I think
Carolyn.
I was looking for you.
Covered, but there will be some things that we'll want to take care of after we find out who the volunteers are. But until we know who the volunteers are, I don't think there's no reason to talk to everybody about it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that sounds good.
Yeah.
So I will let you know who signed up from the survey that is in our latest bulletin. So
Thank you.
are you recognizing the theme, everyone? Go to your latest bulletin and open it up and check every single paragraph. And if you want to get involved, there's surveys involved. So that way we know who to talk to and who to pull into these projects.
We are growing leaps and bounds, and we have lots of things going on.
Now, I just got a message from Denise that she is not able to actually see the video for this. So Denise, do you want me to explain what they are for you?
Carolyn, can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. No, the problem is not that I can't see the video. I can see it.
Oh, good.
So we're good. It's just that I can't, my video from the camera for my new laptop is not, for some reason it's not working. So y'all can't see me, but trust me, it's no big deal, because, and you're probably better off, because I've been painting all day and it's not a pretty sight.
That is A-okay, Denise. We have that cute little picture of you. We're fine.
All right, good.
Okay.
All right, so just a brief little discussion about the training opportunities that we have coming up this month and a little bit into next month. The Owl Prowls by the Houston Audubon Raptor Center. I have not been to one of those. I really intend on going because they're seasonal. I think they end in about March before they end, and they'll start up again in the fall. I don't know if anyone, Melissa, I'd be interested to know if any of our group has actually signed up for one of those. Would help me know whether, we want to continue with this particular type of thing.
Not lately, but it has come across VMS. So it's just not lately. So before COVID, yes, we had people doing owl prowls and doing those things. And I'm trying to see that the best I can. The other one was it was advanced training for the woodlands. It was like hikes. They did those, and it was some kind of birding.
Okay.
Mushroom.
Well, I know that the Raptor Center, most of their owl prowls are down closer into the Houston area. But it's my understanding that occasionally they do owl prowls up further north for those of us who live up north. So anyway, I think that would be so interesting to do that. The next one on the list, I've had so many conversations via email with Christy Rangel, the artist. I was fascinated by this little event. It's a series of 4. The first event is upcoming, I think, next weekend. And it's going to be at Houston Arboretum, I believe. Is that right? Yeah,
so.
Houston Arboretum. There is a fee for that. It's a $15 fee, but there's not a fee for the following 2 series. And I looked up some of her art. She's an extremely good artist. I'm interested to see how they're going to incorporate this with the nature hike through the Arboretum. So that'll be interesting. And then, of course, everyone's heard of Doug Tallamy, I'm sure, and that's upcoming. We have the Native Landscape Certification, and I believe that Carolyn has some slides coming up. They're going to talk about Doug Tallamy. They're going to talk about the Native Landscape Certification. I am hoping to, I won't be able to attend the Native Landscape Certification this year because it falls right on my mom's birthday, and I have to go to Fredericksburg. So I'll miss it, but I really did want to do that one. The bird walks and creating bird-friendly spaces. We talked a little bit about that. There's just so much to do. So I'm, anyone who needs hours on advanced training, my goodness, we have a plethora of opportunities for you. Organic horticulture, the invasive species ID and removal, prairie restoration, monarch conservation. And then there's this new thing I think is really interesting, a webinar to learn about trash-free Adopt-A-Spot. And once I'm thinking we're going to, Carolyn, am I right that we're going to do the Adopt-A-Spot? Each of us, yeah, we can adopt our own spot once we learn how to do all this, right?
Yeah, once you go through the trash-free Adopt-A-Spot,
Mm-hmm.
and we can adopt a spot as a chapter.
Right.
And so yeah, this is going to be very exciting because we haven't had an opportunity to join. They have Trash Bash, I think, that takes place up at Lake Conroe, and we haven't had a chance to join in with that. But this gives us kind of a taste of what that's like, and we get to pick the spot.
We can pick an area that we want to concentrate on, or maybe even more than one, right?
Right.
We can adopt spots.
Like a Dalmatian, not just
Right.
one spot, several spots.
Yeah, you can pick it. You can pick a spot and then claim. I was going to say you can pick a spot and claim it for yourself. I've got 2 spots already myself. This is Steve Elson.
Oh, good.
I've got 2 as Woodlands Waterway Warriors. If you go onto the map, you'll see that there's 2 spots in the woodlands, and those are adjacent to my house. I do trash pickup and cleanup down the 2 drainage ditches around my neighborhood. But there's a dearth of spots in our particular areas, a few down in Houston and then farther north, but there's very few in the woodland. Well, I think mine are still the only 2, in fact.
That's great, Steve.
So we get to pick a spot and name it and go for it.
Now, they do prefer to have one coordinator. So if you're going to do them as, the Heartwood chapter, they'd have one coordinator who controls them all through one spreadsheet and updates that and then assigns a spot that way. That's the way they prefer to do it, as opposed to having 20 individuals responding.
That sounds good, Steve. It sounds like something that Steve Ellison might be able to have.
Yeah. As if he doesn't already do enough.
Here,
Yeah,
Steve.
I know.
We elect you, Steve.
We like to pick it, Steve.
All right.
Just say yes.
Okay, so
you just watch.
So on to the training opportunities. This is just for, all of you or any of you who are not familiar with how to find training, AT training opportunities. There are different ways listed here on the slide. I like to go to the calendar myself. I think that's just so easy, down and dirty. There's an explanation on the calendar of everything involved. It gives you the VMS code that you're going to have to use when you do this AT training. So I think that's it for this slide, Carolyn.
Okay, oh, it jumped all kinds of ways. Here we go.
Oh, and while I'm thinking about it,
Yeah.
on the calendar, if anyone clicks on the calendar and if you're out and about and you hear of an opportunity that you'd like to present for advanced training, there is a form on the calendar at the very top. I believe there are 2 forms, and one of them is for advanced training. What's the other one, Carolyn?
It's for the volunteer service projects.
Okay.
So that one would
Yeah.
go to Brenda. As soon as you submit it, it goes to Brenda. And when you submit the one for advanced training, it goes directly to Denise. So they can look at those projects. You fill in as much information as you can, and they take a look at it and see if it's something that is applicable to us.
Exactly. Okay. Thank you, Carolyn.
You're welcome.
Onward. All right. This was, let's see, I'm not familiar with this one. I've seen this photograph before.
Oh, yes.
A unique Lake Livingston aquatic habitat. This was that this year?
This was, yes, this was this past year. And
That
Scott,
was me and a lot of Heartwood people. If you want to, who doesn't recognize this? That means Denise wasn't there.
No, I was not there, but I was thinking this took place in 2021.
yes, it did.
Yeah, we haven't done anything this year, but we will be. So lots of plans coming. And if you want to hear about the project, I'll throw out a blurb. Scooter and I are doing the Texas Waters session Tuesday
Yes.
next week.
Okay,
So
great.
we met with Melissa Alderson today. So I guess that counts for something, right? Advanced training.
Yes.
So
Yes.
sorry,
Yes, so
Denise.
that's the February 15th, 2022 date down at the bottom of the slide.
Yeah, sorry, that's what that is. That's the advanced training. So that's the Texas Waters thing with Melissa Alderson.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, I was confused because I saw the picture and then I saw February 15th, 2022. And I said, but wait, they're in shorts. That can't be right. And it's not February 15th yet. So,
What's really exciting about this is that Heartwood has been so involved with the Friends of Lake Livingston project. And it's exciting that Scott and Scooter get to tell the entire state about the wonderful things that they've been doing with so many partners. We're just one of their 13 plus partners, but it's great. It's a great way to get out on the lake, to make a huge difference. And it's exciting also because the Ellis unit, where we teach the Texas Master Naturalist program, is very much involved in this also. So it's definitely a very big collaboration. So you don't want to miss hearing Scott and Scooter talk about all the things that they've been able to accomplish out there. So
Yeah, Carol and Melissa told us today there's 109 people signed up so far. So, and remember it's statewide. So I guess we'll see when it comes to Tuesday.
oh, that's awesome. You're gonna have quite an audience.
We hope so.
Yeah. Are you ready for the next slide, Denise?
I am. Okay, now this was, we discussed this briefly in the first slide for advanced training. This is the Garden Club of Houston, Nature's Best Hope by Douglas Tallamy. And I think that everyone should, if you can possibly watch this, you should. It's my understanding that Dr. Tallamy is just world renowned, really. Yeah. And so, yeah, join in if you can for this one. I plan to join in if I possibly can, if I can get away from the ranch for a little bit. I'm going to try to join in on that one.
That'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then watching and counting birds. This one is Cornell Lab Facebook live stream. Now, is this, Carolyn, remind me, is this the one that we had looked at that said that I couldn't get a response from?
It
the Cornell Lab?
Right, because according to the state offices, in order for things to count for advanced training, they have to have an interactive component, whether it's discussion or question and answer, whatever. And so when we hear about things like this, we're very excited and we want to share it with you, but then we're like, but wait, can they get advanced training hours for it? Does it count? And with this one, they did not write back to us. Now, this would get you ready for that great backyard bird count that we announced as a volunteer service project, but we don't know if it counts for advanced training hours. And it may be that somebody has to watch it and then tell us, oh yeah, they had whatever at the end. So for now, if you are ready to do the great backyard bird count, but you need help finding out more about using eBird, do this webinar, do this free webinar. It'll be an awesome way to get ready for it. But do it realizing that, well, I may not get hours for it, but I'm going to learn a lot. Okay. So there are some things that you're going to do that are strictly for personal enrichment, and that's fine. You know, you don't have to live your life trying to toe that line of, am I going to get hours? Because that's not what life is all about, is it? It's not about the pins. It's not about the bling. It's about what you're going to learn. So, so don't let that deter you at all. But just
very well said, Carolyn. Very well said. And I love the picture of the hawk. Beautiful picture.
Isn't that gorgeous? I took that on the side of the road. He was just staring at us.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful. Okay. Next.
There we go.
And this is the landscape certification program that we were talking about earlier. Now, I have not done this one. I would love to do it. But as I said, Mom turns 89 right during that time, and I gotta go. So sorry, can't do it, but I'm very envious of those of you who can, and I highly encourage you to do it. I think it's fascinating. I know some of our members did it last year. There's usually a series of 3, I believe, level 1, 2, and 3, but we haven't seen the 2nd and 3rd series come about yet. So is that right, Carolyn?
There's actually 4 now.
4 now?
Yes, you have to have taken level 1 before you can take any of the others. You can take the others in any order you want, but you have to have level 1. And Denise, do not despair, because we're going to have another level 1, I think sometime in September, October. So, so if you don't catch it this time, but it's also one of those that has limited enrollment. So if you are interested and you want to attend, then definitely sign up early. Okay.
Well, I definitely do want to attend. So let's hope. I tell you what, call me first and let's pick a date that I can make sure I'm there.
As soon as I hear a date, I'll let you know, and you can clear your calendar.
Okay, I'll do that. But yeah, everyone, I think that this is a really great opportunity. I think that Carolyn Worsham and Darla, did you do this one last year? Is she on speaker? Darla. Well, I don't know.
Yeah, yes, we did it last year.
That's, yeah, and it was
Carolyn,
great, wasn't it?
Carolyn's a great teacher too.
Yeah, I know that.
Teaches it, and so it's wonderful.
We're going to have to mute our video because we're losing battery space here.
Oh, okay.
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 All right. I guess we can go to the next one. So, yeah, March 12th via Zoom and March 13th, plant walk at Mercer. Register link available on the Heartwoods calendar. Try to attend. I think it'll be great.
There we go.
And this one, the March's Book Club selection, Finding the Mother Tree by Suzanne Simard. Is that right?
I think
so. This, yeah, I'm not familiar with the author or the subject matter, but it looks interesting. Who picks these, Carolyn? Do you pick these?
Well, what I did is I had like 2 or 3 books, and then I asked the people who usually show up for the book club, which one sounded the most interesting to them. And
Oh,
The Secret Life of Trees was a book that we had read like in 2020, I think, or The Hidden Life of Trees. I can't remember exactly what the name of it was now, but it was amazing because trees are very, very, how do I say it? They form communities. And it's interesting that her research, along with the research of the person who wrote the Secret Life of Trees, her research fed a lot into what he was doing. And when she first did her research and said, these trees are communicating with each other and these things are going on, and people poo-pooed it, like, oh no, that can't be happening. And it took years for them to come around and say, oh, you know, she was right all along. And so Finding the Mother Tree is a New York Times bestseller, and I can't wait to read it.
it sounds exciting. Sounds exciting. It's probably a pretty quick read, I would imagine.
I hope it's not too science dense. I hope it's written for the layperson like me.
Okay. Is that the last slide for advanced training?
Let's see what I have. Oh,
Is there another one?
let's see. Yes, you have another one.
Oh, boy. I did briefly look at these beforehand. Okay, this is the Aquatic Wild, and I am not all that familiar with it, but I don't. Let's see, 6 hours of TEA approved CPE. Aquatic Wild is K through 12, and I believe that this is a training on how to work with kids, with young children, and
So
teach
it's
them
all of that.
all about nature so that they too can make a difference.
So I did the Project Wild in the fall and it was pretty awesome. I was wondering, because I was thinking of signing up for these, but they're all, I'm not sure how I feel about doing it online. Like I did
Well,
mine
this one is
in
not.
person.
This one's not online. This one is
Okay.
actually here at Jones Forest. That's why
Okay.
it's included. Yes.
Okay.
This one is in our own backyard. A lot
Okay.
of
I
the
must
things
have,
that they
missed that part because the other
Oh,
two I
yeah.
saw were like online with some kind of whatever. And I'm like, it was really fun to do this kind of thing in person.
Oh,
And I
yeah.
am a public educator. So it's like, I need some hands-on to
Right.
make it
Mhm.
real. And if I got to sit through another Zoom class, I don't know what I'm going to do.
This one's going to be in person. And so, and Glenn Buckley, who is the person who is in charge of the Lake Creek Preserve, is actually an aquatic wild educator. So he's going to be teaching us the aquatic wild curriculum. And it's limited. Again, registration is limited. There's not a ton of space at Jones Forest. So if you want to sign up, you need to go and sign up now. And you can do that. You can go to the calendar, and our calendar has a link for it. Or you can, you just Google TPWD Aquatic Wild and then click on workshops, and it'll list them all, and you'll be able to see what's available close by. And this is, I mean, in our backyard. So if you have an opportunity to go, because they don't do them all the time in our area. So this is a great opportunity for us. Oh. Yeah. So you ready to see if there's one more slide for you, Denise?
Oh, sure.
Come on. There we go. You're off the hook, Denise.
All right.
Thank you so much, Denise, for
No,
sharing.
thank
all
you,
those.
everyone. Thank you very much. And you know, just check that calendar,
Yeah.
read your bulletin, and you'll be ready to go for advanced training. You get all the advanced training you could possibly want and
Yeah.
more.
It's very true. Thanks so much, Denise. Okay,
Welcome.
Sharon, you ready to introduce Kelly?
Yes, I'm ready.
Awesome.
I'm so glad he cut out early so that he would
Now he's been sitting here,
Oh, bless his
probably
heart.
dozing off here. Okay, our speaker tonight is Kelly Norrid, like you see on the screen. Growing up in Southeast Texas, Kelly spent hours exploring his backyard, which just happened to be the creeks and game trails of Sam Houston National Forest. Using field guides, he taught himself about the plants and animals that he was discovering. Sounds like most of us, doesn't it? Kelly decided to channel his love of the outdoors into a career. His diverse background includes participation with wildlife reintroduction programs, plant surveys of buffalo and white oak bayous, and rare plant surveys throughout Southeast Texas. This background has led Kelly to participate in habitat restoration projects throughout the area. And this work, in turn, has led Kelly to become proficient in the identification of native plants and the ecology of Southeast Texas. In early 2010, Kelly was hired by Texas Parks and Wildlife to be the natural resource specialist for Sheldon Lake State Park, and later Davis Hill State Natural Area. This position saw Kelly overseeing the day-to-day management of natural resources of Sheldon Lake and to help lead and manage the habitat restoration efforts for both Sheldon Lake and Davis Hill. January 2015, Kelly became part of the Texas Parks and Wildlife Diversity Program by becoming an urban wildlife biologist serving greater Houston, Galveston area. And now he's here with us to speak tonight. Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Barely. It's a little low if you can turn up.
Is that better?
The volume's a little low to me. What does everybody else think?
Yes, it's low.
All right. I'm going to try to increase the volume, but it's one second. Is that better?
Much better.
Yes.
All right. Good deal. All right. Let me share my screen. Oh, there we go. I was looking for my PowerPoint presentation. It seemed to have disappeared off my desktop. There we go. So it seems like after doing this for going on 2 years now, it would be a lot more proficient in doing Zoom meetings.
Well, when you figure it out, we'll quit doing it. So there you go.
No, that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, we've got your name in lights.
All right. How is that?
I see it. All good.
Excellent. All right. So I've asked to come to speak with you all this evening, particularly on pocket prairies and what you can do to help out and create your own little pocket prairies in your neighborhood, in your community, and even at your home. First off, what exactly is pocket prairie? That's one of the first questions, because there's two terms that I've heard with this. One is pocket prairie, and the other is a micro prairie. So it seems to be a new term that's coming up. Micro prairie. If you hear that one, it's essentially what a pocket prairie is. A pocket prairie is essentially a creation or almost a replication of the larger prairie system that you may particularly have in your area. So in our case, it's going to be much more of the coastal prairie, the Cajun prairie, the coastal prairie system. And they're typically defined as prairies that are under about an acre. I think the acreage is somewhat arbitrary when it comes to it, but typically they're looked at as being under an acre. And they're actually something that's relatively easy. Not as y'all well know, there's really nothing that is particularly easy about restoration or even gardening. But they are relatively easy to do, relatively easy to keep up with if you follow certain guidelines, I guess you would say. It makes it a whole lot easier. One of the biggest things is when it comes to pocket prairies is you need to choose a location and a size wisely. In other words, you're looking at planting prairie plants. So you're looking at prairie grasses and prairie forbs. One of the big characteristics of these prairie plants are, I mean, think about it. They are in wide open spaces and they flourish during the spring and summer months. So you're looking at sunlight being an extremely important factor when considering where to put a pocket prairie and how to do it. So you need to really take a look at sunlight. You need to really concentrate on sunlight in order to have a good pocket prairie or a good prairie to be successful. You need to have an absolute minimum of 6 hours of good sun. 8 hours is preferable. 12 hours is ideal. So if you think about it, during the summer, we have about 12 hours of daylight, and these prairie plants are pretty much getting that daylight for the full anywhere from 8 to 12 hours. So, I mean, ideally 8 to 12 hours of sunlight is the best, but minimum of 6 hours. Also, with many of these different plants, some plants can tolerate shade a little more than what others, but they have a tendency to not perform as much and become very leggy, and they don't bloom nearly as proficiently as they would in full sun situations. That's the biggest thing that I have found that's been a failure in a lot of these pocket prairies and native landscaping, especially for pollinators in the area, and that I have dealt with, is simply just not getting enough sunlight. So really pay attention to that aspect of it. If you are doing this at your house, at your home, and you don't think you get enough sunlight in order to do something like this, there are other alternatives that you can use besides pocket prairies to kind of help reconnect those fragmented habitats that has been created due to development and urbanization and such. I usually suggest that folks, I like to get things that I can concentrate on, things that I can look at. So something that a couple of things that I suggest that folks do if they want to put in a pocket prairie is to, first off, get like a stick or a tomato stake, or even like an embroidery hoop or something is good to use, and set it in an area where you think you're getting enough sunlight. And then one day when you're not planning on going anywhere or doing anything, go out before the sun comes up, put your embroidery circle or whatever down and look at it. Get you a notebook and put 7 a.m., 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, etc. throughout the day, and go back on the beginning of each hour and see how much of that area is actually getting sunlight. You may be surprised at areas that you think are getting multiple hours of sunlight, and in all actuality, they may not necessarily be getting as much sunlight as you think. So that's a way that you can kind of quantify the amount of sunlight that these areas are getting. Again, the more sunlight you get, the more successful, especially trying to create pocket prairies, are going to be, because these plants do need a large amount of sunlight. Number two, you want to put it somewhere where it can be watered, because yes, native plants need less water, but that's really once they're established. You want to be able to get water to the location in order to have, if you're doing seed, in order for the seed to germinate properly, if you're doing plugs, in order for the plugs to be able to root in properly. So definitely have an area that you will be able to irrigate it, at least for the first season. And number three, don't bite off more than you can chew. You know, if you have an acre or 2 acres in order to in order to create a prairie, that's great, go for it. But also be aware that when you plant this, it's going to have some type of maintenance. The way that invasive species are so prevalent in our area, you're going to get things that are going to pop up in it. They will need some type of maintenance. So plan on at least spending a day or 2 a month tending to the prairie and removing removing any invasives, especially if you're going to be doing this at your home or in a very urban setting. These little pocket prairies are much more susceptible to picking up invasives in them. So be sure to, like I said, not bite off more than you can chew. That way it's going to be a lot more successful. And if you find that, you set out a certain plot and you start fixing it and you start doing it, I tell people to start small. So start small and build on what you're doing. With those 3 things are going to be your starting point of creating a successful pocket prairie, pollinator garden, wildscape, etc. I mean, those are the things that are going to be really one of the most important things. So what are some of your goals you should look for when creating one of these types of habitat? Choose your target wildlife species. What are you looking for? What wildlife are you looking at benefiting? If you're looking at pollinators, then you're going to be looking at more flowering form kind of plants. If you're looking at birds, then maybe look at something where you're combining a pocket prairie type idea with an edge garden. So you may have like American beautyberry, or you may have Yopon holly, or you may have something around the edges that goes out into a pocket prairie. If you're looking more toward birds, then it's more fruit producing plants. And I'm not talking about like pears and peaches and plums, but fruit producing, berry producing plants. And if you're looking at like for like hummingbirds, then you look more at like coral bean, coral honeysuckle, things like that. So think about the targets, your target wildlife species. Look for, I like to think of plants as like, what do they have multiple uses for the plant? For example, Turk's cap. Turk's cap is great for pollinators and hummingbirds. It creates a flower. It grows really well. But then in the fall, it also produces a fruit, and that fruit is eaten by native birds. I have a Turk's cap in my front yard, and I'm constantly having mockingbirds and jays fighting over the fruit on the Turk's cap. Use hardy native plants. Cluster multiple plants of the same species where you have space. So successful, especially for drawing in pollinators, clumping your plants in specific areas helps to draw attention to that particular plant, to that particular species, and will draw in pollinators, hummingbirds, etc. And this is also think about layering too, which I'll talk a little bit more in a bit. Think about layering too. You want to put your if you're trying to make more kind of, if you're trying to do this more at your home, create pocket prairie at your home, think about the layering where you have shorter plants toward the front, taller plants toward the back. If you're talking about acre or multiple acreage, then you have a little bit more leeway when you're creating something that's more of, acre, 2 or 3 acres. You have a little more leeway with that. You can do a little more mixing of sizes of plants throughout this, throughout your prairie. And also think about larval host plants. So plants that may not be the greatest for pollinators or for nectar, but they are used as larval host plants. Because once you draw the butterfly in, they need somewhere to lay their eggs. The larva needs something to eat also. So think about having multiple types of plants. So you can plant larval plants, and you can also plant nectar producing plants also. Another really important aspect of especially creating something that's going to be more for pollinator use or nectar production is you don't want to spray water on the top of the plant, because essentially you're going to be you will be washing away nectar, and you could be washing away pollen from the plant itself. So if you could think about irrigation for this area, think about something more of a drip irrigation, like the hoses. You could put like the little drip irrigation hoses through or something. You stay away from fan sprays or sprinkler systems or sprinklers that go over the top of the flowers, because you could very much wash away nectar and pollen from them. We talked about regular maintenance. You're going to have to be doing some stuff for at least a month. Once it gets established, and once you have plants in and plants established, as you well know, the maintenance on it may go down a little bit. But especially if you're doing something like this and trying to stay within a POA or an HOA's rules of how your yard should be. I I call them the yard Nazis, coming in and telling you what and how you could put your plants in. Think about that also. So you want to make it beneficial to wildlife, but at the same time, you want to have some type of curb appeal. So think about that, especially if you're talking about in your front yard. In your backyard, you're going to have a little more leeway when it comes to that. And again, if you're talking acreage, then you're not really worrying too much about POAs or HOAs. And monitor your garden regularly. I really encourage folks to do this, especially if you're going to be replacing the builder landscaping. Say you got a new home and you're going to be replacing the builder landscaping that they put around, which is typically Chinese ligustrum, Japanese privet, Japanese ligustrum, things like that. Monitor your garden. Look at what you're putting in, and use like iNet or Monarch Watch and record, take pictures of what pollinators and what things that you're bringing in, and see how when the diversity of your garden increases, how the diversity of the visitors to your little pocket prairie is going to be. Another thing I want to mention on here also is look at plants that bloom throughout the year. So you may have some, a lot of like the coreopsis, they will bloom very early in the year. Whereas like Indian blanket, such, they bloom later in the spring, earlier in the summer. So choose species so you're going to have color year round, and you're going to have some type of nectar or pollen source year round. Select your species carefully and carefully arrange them. If you look at this photo in the upper left-hand side, I mean, it looks nice and colorful, but pollinator-wise, pocket prairie-wise, that's not very beneficial. Being that some of this is coleus around here, you've got cultivated, looks like marigolds and stuff like that. A lot of cultivated plants are very poor in nectar. So stay away from cultivated plants. Stay away from a lot of plants that you get at the big nurseries around, because their nectar contents of these more cultivated plants is actually lower than what you get in the native plants. They may be larger, and the flowers may be larger and showier, but research has shown that the nectar content and pollen content of these are a lot lower. Whereas down here at the bottom, you have a little pocket prairie that utilizes much more native plants. So this, you would see bees and butterflies and such flourishing all through there. As a matter of fact, you look over here, looks like they got a little cottontail that's been visiting that particular little pocket prairie. So why native plants? I feel like I'm kind of, some of this stuff, I feel like I'm kind of preaching to the choir too. I hope you have all know by this time, if you've been in the Master Naturalist, you know the benefits of native plants. One, they're better adapted to this region for growing, the condition and climate. They're more resistant to insect and disease. Typically, they require less maintenance once established. I need to come in here. I always want to add in parentheses next to usually require less maintenance and may require less water. I want to put in parentheses there, once established. Very few plants that you're going to be able to get, especially if you're planting or transplanting and throwing to the ground, is going to survive, unless they have water until they get themselves established. So plan on for the first, like I said, plan on for at least the first season of having some type of irrigation to your pocket prairie. That's I said number one was location and where it was. Well, watering is 1.1. It's especially that first year. All right, I talked a little bit about this. Water your garden from the bottom up. Don't have fan sprays or sprinkler systems or whatever over the top, because you're washing away all the goodies when you water that way. So I'm suspecting a lot of folks here are going to be looking more along what can I do in my front yard, what can I do in my backyard in order to help. With this, kind of give you a little idea of what we're talking about when you're kind of more almost landscaping with native plants, but trying to recreate and create these pocket prairies. Depending on size, there are certain grasses you would want to stick with, depending on how much room you have. We all know the big four prairie grasses. You might want to stay a little bit more with smaller grasses. So sticking more along with like muleys, which do also have kind of a curb appeal to them at the same time. So here's one way you can look at it. I want to say this is thanks to my colleague in my office, Diana, your advisor. When you're initially thinking of starting or planning out a bed, Diana taught me her method of doing this. Basically getting a piece of graph paper, your graph paper where one square is like a square foot. Plan out where you want to put your garden and use this as a little template to figure out where you want to place your plants. So figure out how much room you have, and then once you figured out how much room you have here and you have something like this drawn out, I would go in and, like I said, put your sticks or your meter squares or whatever you may have in these areas to check your sunlight. I've done these little pocket prairies before in businesses or in schools, and they don't realize that at a certain point during the day, they're from like noon to nightfall, their garden isn't getting any sunlight whatsoever. So be sure to go through and find out if you're going to have enough sunlight to do that. Like I'm telling you, that's extremely important. This particular design was done for a school, and the school's mascot was an eagle. So she started off with this little U-shaped plan that would eventually be enlarged to be an E for the Eagles. It's more kind of like what I was talking to you about earlier. Start off smaller. It's easier to, and it's a lot less disheartening to start off smaller and be successful than start off really large and be unsuccessful. Once you have once you have your schematic put out to where you would like to have your plants, look at what you want to plant and where you want to plant it. You don't want to overcrowd things too much. So basically looking at, get an idea of, like with the Turk's cap. Turk's cap can take up quite a bit of room. So I know a lot of people, it gets really tempting whenever you're first putting things down and you're putting down one plant here, one plant here, and one plant here, to kind of overstuff plants into an area. Realize that they're going to get bigger, they're going to take up a lot more room than what they are when they're seed, or when they're smaller in a pot. If you're looking more, again, at doing something in your yard, then you'd want to be sure that you're doing things where you're going from smaller to taller in the back. Think of this area as being your focal point, or think of your road as the focal point, and build up from smaller to taller. So smaller in the front, taller toward the back. That way you don't quite get as many letters from your HOA as you might beforehand, or just by kind of just putting them in. So here you can see essentially how you fill in your spots with, like Gaillardia. Basically, you could put them in 1 square foot. Larger plants are toward the back and toward the center. So this shows you this was the plant list that we had for this particular garden. A lot of this stuff is, again, I'm gonna feel like I'm preaching to the choir with this when it comes to trying to find and get a hold of native plants to plant in your yard, or in a pocket prairie, or to do a full-scale restoration project with. These are usually pretty easy to find, these particular plants. To kind of give you a cost estimate, a cost idea of what a garden like that size would typically cost. This was a couple of years ago, so the prices may have jumped up. I don't know if supply chain has affected the prices on this, but you're looking at around $300 to $350 to start a project about the size that you were seeing there. All right. Materials, again, it's going to depend on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to do this in your front yard, then you're going to want to make it a little more, have a little more curb appeal than what you're going to maybe do in your backyard or in multiple acreages. One of the biggest things is trying to edging, should I say, is a big aspect of it. Edging has a tendency to give a semblance of order to what you're doing, and tends to be more agreeable than what would normally be. I did essentially a pocket prairie in my front yard, and I was getting letters constantly from my HOA saying, remove wildflowers from your front yard, remove wildflowers from your front yard. And I went to a landscape mulch yard kind of place. Got me a few thousand pounds of moss rock and created a moss rock border around it. And remarkably, the letter stopped. So just putting the border around it seemed to appease the powers that be when it came to the HOA and dealing with the HOA. This is the little U-shaped section of the garden. So this is like the beginning of the garden. Since this started, it has been expanded into the E. There have been raised beds put in this area here between the parking area and the side. There's been raised beds been put here. They're doing more of, what do they call it, a pizza garden in that area where they grow stuff like oregano and basil and tomatoes and things like that. And then this has also been expanded out into this area. Fortunately, with COVID, hadn't really been able to go out and revisit a lot of these sites. Hopefully we'll be able to start doing that somewhat soon. So this kind of gives you the liatris, the asters, the gaillardias over here. You got some Gulf Coast penstemon, milkweed. But this is a good way to, biggest thing is to reconnect a lot of the fragmented landscape that has been created throughout the area, and especially with urbanization. And a lot of people don't realize that these little pocket prairies are actually very good and very beneficial. They help with carbon sequestration. They help with pollinators. They help with temperature regulations around your house. Many different benefits. In this, we went back and visited a few months after this particular little pocket prairie was put in, and the milkweed were just 100% covered with butterfly larvae. I mean, it was just incredible. There was like pretty much no leaves left on them, and so there were tens, if not hundreds, of butterfly larvae that were taking advantage of this little pocket prairie. Here are some resources to look at for more information on creating pocket prairies and creating native landscaping in your front yard. I really recommend the first book, Native Texas Plants Landscaping, Region by Region. It's an extremely useful book to have. You can still find it around. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the members don't already have this book. It's a great book full of a lot of great information. Also, Texas Wildscapes, Native Plant Society, of course, Native Plant Database, the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center is another great place to get information. And also Native American Seed is a good resource for seed and plants for your gardens. All right, so with that, do we have questions? Any questions? Anyone more information on anything in particular?
Just a quick question on the Turk's cap. I'm growing some from seed and I've got a bed prepared. What spacing do I need to plant them if I want to have a full bed of Turk's cap?
Battery 100%.
Sorry, did I miss any questions or?
Oh, yeah. Did you not hear that one?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't hear it.
Oh,
Let me repeat it then, Kelly.
All right.
I'm growing some Turk's cap from seed. I've got a bed prepared. I want to grow Turk's cap. What spacing should I plant the newly grown seeds at to get a full bed? I don't want to overcrowd them, but I don't want spaces between the plants. What do you recommend?
Yeah, Turk's cap can be quite large. I would definitely start with at least 5 to 6 foot centers.
Oh, wow. Okay.
On Turk's cap. And it depends. A lot of that is also going to depend on how quick you want, how quick do you want it to fill up? If you want it to fill up quickly, then I would go to 3 foot centers, but you'd be surprised at how quickly Turk's cap will grow. And it will, I don't want to necessarily say it will take over, but it also depends on where you're planting it too. If you're planting it in more of a sunny location, it's going to be bushier. If you plant it in more of it will grow and it will bloom in partial shade, but it will be a lot leggier. So if you plant it in a very sunny area, I would start with 3 foot centers if you want it to grow. If you want to fill in your blank quickly.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at, if you have it, or if you want to take the time, then you could go with 5 foot centers, because before you know it, Turk's cap will totally fill in that. Because when you do the 5 foot centers, you're looking at the plant only needs to expand 2.5 feet in order to fill in the space in between.
Okay, and I can look forward to a lot of pruning from what you're saying. Then it's a vigorous plant.
Yeah, it is. It's a vigorous grower. It's great. I mean, I tell people, if you want hummingbirds in your yard, 2 things. You could do coral honeysuckle, or 3 things. You can do coral bean, coral honeysuckle, or the red Turk's cap. Those will draw in hummingbirds like you wouldn't believe.
Great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
We have a question in the chat, Kelly. Someone wanted you to review how to check to see if you get enough sunlight in a particular spot.
Basically, I'm one of these people. I like to kind of concentrate on a specific area. It's like when this is something I do at my house. If I lose my keys or something, I grab a flashlight and I use the flashlight just to concentrate my efforts, because if not, I just get so scatterbrained and I'm just looking all over and not looking at anything at the same time. So I feel like getting a flashlight, I can concentrate. Okay, I am looking at these areas. So something that works for me is to get like a tomato stake, or it could be a tomato stake, it could be a flower pot, an embroidery hoop, a meter square, anything like that, and set it down in a particular area that you're looking at putting your garden. Then get a notebook and just write, 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m., noon, and do that throughout the day, and just go back at the beginning of each hour and just look and go, okay, it's got light. It's got sunlight. It's got good sunlight. And then you can mark down, sunlight. And then, you go back and just do that throughout the day. And then you count up your hours and say, oh, okay, well, I think I've got at least 6 hours worth of direct sun to the area. So in other words, I like kind of using like a meter square thing. You can make your own meter square, or you can create some type of meter square, because you can set it down there and you can kind of look at it and go, okay, in this meter square, I have this much. I have 100% full, I have 100% sun. But if you're in kind of a dapple shaded, kind of, you got trees around, or if you got shrubs around, you can kind of go into it and look, okay, well, around 3 o'clock, it really turns into, it's only, you know, about 20 or 30% sunlight within that meter square. So that way you can monitor what you had. Because I was actually just talked about, we're doing our training classes right now at Gulf Coast, and I did a class Monday, and I had one of the students come up and ask me about, oh, they've been trying for the past 3 or 4 years to get a prairie, a little pocket prairie, to grow in their backyard, and they just don't know what they're doing wrong, and they've tried everything and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, have you paid attention to how much sun you're getting in that area? And they were like, well, yeah, it gets a lot of sun. Okay, and I told them, well, do this. Come to find out, that little section got sun, but it got morning sun from about 7:30, 8 in the morning till about 11:30. And then at that point, it started going into partial shade. And then pretty much from about 12 o'clock on, it was pretty much in full shade.
Wow.
And so she was getting leggy plants. She wasn't getting the blooms that she was expecting to get from the plants. And those are the biggest aspects. So at that point, I was like, okay, well, why don't we change what you're doing? Why not, instead of trying to do a pocket prairie, why don't you try to do an edge garden? So, you know, let's look at let's look at American Beautyberry. Let's look at Yopon. Let's look at Turk's Cap. Let's look at coral bean. Let's look at some plants that are going to be extremely beneficial for wildlife, but are going to work for where you're at and what you're doing. I know that that you know, pollinators are great. Prairie is the thing, but it doesn't really necessarily work all the time. And it's better, instead of to just fruitlessly try over and over and over and over and over to create a prairie, even though that's really what you want, it's more beneficial to work with what you have and create something that is going to work there, and is at the same time is going to work for wildlife. You may want to bring in monarchs and butterflies, you know, but you may be more successful bringing in, you know, blue jays and hummingbirds. And blue jays and hummingbirds need help just like pollinators do. So look at things like that. Evaluate what you have. And especially if you're talking about anywhere north of I-10, most places north of I-10 are going to be, the yards, the areas are going to be much more shaded. They're going to be much, you're going to have taller trees. And it's not necessarily the trees in your yard. It's also the trees in your neighbor's yard. Because if you've got 110 foot, if you got you know, a grove of 110-foot loblolly pines that's, you know, 2 lots over from you, that's going to shade you quite a bit in the evening time. And also think about it too, when you go outside and you look out and it's nice and sunny and bright where you're standing, it may not be nice and sunny and bright where you want to plant, your garden. And then you could also do other things too, like around the edge. You may want your garden around the edge of your property, but it's just not really conducive for it. But in the very middle of your yard, you have a spot that does get ample sunlight throughout the whole day. Or think about it, it may not be your backyard that gets the sunlight. It may not be your front yard that gets the sunlight. It may be between your houses that gets the most sunlight. Because if your house is direction east to west, the area between your house may be getting sunlight for 6, 8, 10, 12 hours because of the way that the sun is, rising and setting. You may be getting more sun on the side of your house than what you are in the front or the back. So think about doing something along there.
Eric, do you want to unmute and ask your question about seasonality?
Sure. I was just curious, like, I guess the sun shifts during certain parts of the year.
Yep.
Is there, when you're doing this, are you looking to do it in the spring, in the heat of the summer, or then like, say you're trying to figure it out in the winter? Is there like a formula that says, okay, in the winter, if this area gets 4 hours of sunlight, it probably gets 6 hours in the summer, something like that?
Yeah, I'm sure there is. I wouldn't know how to figure that, but just by simply living, like for me, for living in my house for 17 years, I can tell you that during the which is wonderful. The way that I did my landscaping in the backyard, I really didn't take that into consideration. So in the winter, when I'd like to have the heat from the sun hitting my back windows, it's shaded. And then in August, the sun has shifted from being here to being over here. And it shines right in under my patio and gets to be, 450 degrees. So I ended up having to plant another tree right here in order to fix that issue. But yeah, that is definitely something to look at because the sun does shift, and somewhere where you may get a lot of sunlight may not get it later. I say you go just do the same thing throughout the season. But then also remember too, we get 8 to 12 hours of sunlight. Well, here we don't get quite 12. We get, I think it's 11 hours, 27 minutes, 67 seconds or something like that of sunlight during the summer hours here. In the winter, we get 6, if we're lucky, 6 hours of good, strong sunshine in the winter. And another thing too, especially where like a lot of you may be, one of my rules of thumb when it came to people going and wandering around in the thicket, anywhere north of, like I said, north of I-10, now north of Spring Creek, really, because everything between Spring Creek and I-10 has been turned into Houston. Anything north of Spring Creek, people would be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go out to the Lone Star Hiking Trail and I'm gonna take off and go down the trail. And I'm like, okay, well, what time you plan on going there? And it's summer. Oh, it's summer. I'll be fine. We'll get there around 6. And I'm like, okay, well, you have about 30 minutes to wander through. And they're like, well, what do you mean? It stays daylight till 9 o'clock. And it's like, no, it doesn't. Not when you get in the thicket. 6 o'clock, and it's going to be a lot darker in the thicket than it's going to be. You get to your car in the parking lot at 9 o'clock and it's still bright and everything. But yeah, I said, you find the pines, get you a nice little area and stick your fingers above the top of the pine trees. If you get 3 fingers between you and the sun on the top of the pine trees, that means you have about an hour and a half of hiking to do before it gets dark pretty quick in the thicket. So, you know, and so it's the same thing where you're at too, where you may live. Look at how much sun you have, you know, stand in your front yard and look up. If you're looking up in your canopy, you only have this much space of open sky. That means you're only going to have about 3 hours of good direct sunlight. And then depending on where you're going, east or west, north or south, whichever direction that you're going. So there's different ways that you can check, you can look, but those are the things that I really stress that people check out first before, because nothing's more disappointing than going and spending the time and spending the effort and spending the money, you know, pulling up St. Augustine grass and, you know, weeding everything out and buying all the rock and putting everything in and then planting it. And you just go, oh, that didn't work, did it? You know, so definitely check those things out. Check those things out first. It's a lot more satisfying to do it that way. And if you then go in and you find out, oh man, I only have, you know, 4 or 5 hours of good sunlight in the area. Well, think about some other things, you know, think about other avenues that you can go down. Beautyberry. I love beautyberry.
Oh, yeah.
You know, and nothing is more, I don't know, something to me, nothing is more satisfying than seeing a bunch of mockingbirds fighting over a beautyberry bush that you have in your front yard. And you see this one mockingbird that just sits up. I had this one mockingbird that just sat up in a tree, and he would sit there and just watch the beautyberries. He wouldn't eat anything off of it. Just watch it. If another mockingbird came up, he flew down and chased them off, and then would go land back in the tree and just monitored that beautyberry bush, you know. And it's like he would go eat some off of it, okay, but most of them just shriveled up and fell off. But no, he was going to make sure that nobody else came near his beautyberry.
One of the things that I was, Eric's comment brought to mind was, if I were to go out now and put a hoop out and look for sunlight, that doesn't take into consideration when the leaves start to come out again on my trees.
Absolutely.
So that's definitely an issue you have to remember, is that if you have a deciduous tree and you're checking, you may have full sunlight now, but when that tree leaves out, you're just not going to have any sunlight, right? So,
yes.
So yeah, you really kind of have to do. So the question would be, are you looking more for what it's going to be like in spring or in summer? When you
Absolutely, great question.
Mm-hmm.
Pocket prairies are going to thrive between March and August.
Okay.
So that's really where they're going to thrive, is between March and August, and maybe into September if you do, because, and then it's going to depend if you're going to do some more annuals or perennials, and you know, and things like that. But general rule is March to August, maybe September. August is when things really start going to seed. Also, when you're doing, especially with annuals and they seed, be aware that they need to be left there. I know that there are definitely restrictions with HOAs and POAs and things like that, where they may be like, oh, you can't, you know, your flowers, because that was one thing I got after I got everything nice and pretty looking for them. Then everything was dead and I had to cut, okay, your flowers are dead, cut them off. And it's like, no, they need to sit there for a little longer. You know, so take those things into consideration also. We do have one little thing that helps. I can't remember the Senate bill, Texas Senate bill. Maybe somebody can help me out with it. 305, I thought it was, but it has to do with xeriscaping and water saving water. That's a great resource if you're in the hill country. I mean, it's kind of hard to use that excuse here. You know, oh, we're saving water. Well, it rains 60 inches of rain a year. So, you know, that's one thing I've had folks try to use as a, you know, I'm planting native. I have these wildflowers. I have these things in my front yard because I'm saving water. Like I said, it's a great argument in the hill country, but it's hard sell here to your HOA to allow that one. But like I said, try to make it, is it Senate Bill 198?
Yep.
Thanks, Eric.
Yep.
Yes, Senate Bill 198. You know, that's great. You can try it. We used to have folks when our Wildscapes program was really in full swing. People would try to use that for their HOA. They go, no, look, I'm certified by Texas Parks and Wildlife. I have a wildscape garden. And they're like, we don't care. But if you keep it up, if you look like you're intentionally doing something, and you know, have your required 100 square feet of zoysia or 100 square feet of St. Augustine or whatever you have to have, and do the rest of it up nicely with a nice border and look like you have some order to things. Most of them don't really have an issue. Most HOAs don't have an issue.
You were talking about the Texas Wildscapes.
Yes.
Okay, so I wanted to let everyone know that the Texas Wildscapes, there are 2 editions to this book. One edition, the old edition, is all lots of charts and lots of great information. The newer version is on a CD. It has a CD in the book with all of those charts. Unfortunately, it requires Flash to play. So I bought a copy of that from Amazon. Nothing runs Flash anymore. So I have to return it. So if you are going to buy the Texas Wildscapes book, make sure you get the older edition, not the new one. Okay. Don't waste your time on the older one. So we do have another question. Do you have plant recommendations for gardens with deer issues?
Actually, there are a few. I can write it down. What I can do is I will send to Carolyn some resources.
Awesome.
It gives you a plant list for there's a plant. Let me see. I may have the plant list up, and I can just kind of show you and give you a preview of the plant list that I can send to Carolyn, and she can send out to the group.
We love our plant list. Awesome.
All right, here you can see, like, this is just an example. There are, let me see if there's other, let's go up here. Here we go. Okay, here's the annuals and perennials. These would be ones more that would be in a pocket prairie. So like we've got, for instance, here's a Gaillardia. It can go full sun to partial shade, won't take shade, needs well drained. The height is, 1 to 2 feet, mature width is 2 feet. So that gives you an idea if you're planning a garden, how much space you need to, how much space you need for each of these. But I can send this off to Carolyn, and she can, hopefully she'd be able to get it out to the chapter, I hope. And with that, I can also look at, I can send you some deer resistant plant lists that help with that issue. There are a number that you can use that are deer. I was thinking this list had, No, it doesn't. I thought this one had, if it was deer resistant or not. Let me see here on.
Like, can I make copies of this to hand out when we have booths at some of the Nature Fest and things?
Sure.
Oh, good.
I don't see why not.
It's a beautiful list. I know more than just us would love to have copies of that.
Yeah, I was looking to see, I know it's on here. To see where, oh, now it's totally, I can't think of the common name of it now. Turk's Cap. And see what the recommendation was for mature width on here. No matches. It's not even on here. Yes, here we go. 3 to 5. Yeah, it's recommending 3 to 5 spacing on Turk's Cap. Yeah, 3 to 5 spacing on Turks. And trust me, in a couple of years, you're not going to know where one or the other started with Turk's Cap. So yeah, I can send that, and also I can send deer resistant plants. I'll have to check that one. I'll send these to you in the morning. So I'll have to find my deer resistant plant list. It's a decent list. Unfortunately, deer eats about anything and everything around. All right, any other questions?
See anything else in the chat? Thank you so much for joining us, Kelly. I am so glad that you were able to. And as you can tell, we did a very long slideshow today, just in case you were running late.
I saw that. And I got in early.
We usually don't run so long, but that was very, very good. And we're getting a lot of thank yous and good comments in the chat. I have recorded this session, so if anyone's missed anything, I'm going to have the link up available for you to actually see this on the Heartwood Chapter TMN YouTube channel. Okay, so thank you again, Kelly. Melissa, do you want to tell us what our hours look like for tonight?
I have 0.75 for the meeting, and what will we do for the 80 an hour and 0.25?
I think it is 1.25.
Yeah.
A very great meeting, y'all. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Sharon, for getting Kelly to come and talk to us about pocket praise. I can't wait to go out with my embroidery hoop. I have a use for my hoop now.
There you go.
Thanks so much. And we will see you again everyone again in March, whether it's for a pin pickup or for our next chapter meeting. Good night, everybody.
Thank you. Good night.
Goodbye.
You're muted.